and you're listening to Thrive with Jay Grace, and your host, Jay Grace. Jay, take it away.
Thank you, Mark. Hi, everyone. It is Thursday, which means it is time to thrive. I'm your host, Jay Grace. I'm hoping that all of you, wherever you are having a great day or evening, depending where you are. And I'm very excited because usually my show is from 7 to 7:30, but today is going to be an entire hour, so we're very excited about that. And that's something that we're going to start incorporating in the new year, not so far away. Crazy. And this hour, our first guest is live right now here. Her name is Marilyn Redmond. She is an author. She is a counselor. She is a public speaker. And most of all, she is a living example that you can thrive no matter what's going on in your life or has happened in your life. Marilyn, how are you today?
Well, I'm doing very well, thank you. It's good to be talking with you today, Jay Grace, and I'm just so glad to be on your show.
Thank you. Now, the topic is about from getting to a place to thrive instead of just surviving, which is just, a lot of people go through traumas or going through their own challenges, and they may feel like, well, this is what my life is, and the message of this program is, it might be for now, but you certainly have the right to thrive, and you talk about that in your new book. So tell us about your new book.
Well, my new book is Paradigm Busters, Reveal the Real You. It's at Amazon.com on my author page there. It's available. And I took actually 25 years to write it because I have literally come from being that wounded victim into having the presence of grace in my life today, and all things are good, and the issues that used to be a problem and kept me a victim have become just basically left, and it's a beautiful place to be today.
And in your book, you sort of talk about what steps you take. It's not just, sharing your experience, but tangible steps that people can take to live their own thriving life.
Well, I actually do that, and most books tell you, you're supposed to improve your life and use this and use that, these different ideas. But my book very greatly details exactly how you can change it. It's not just that you should do it, but it's a how-to book. It's the ultimate how-to book because I have given the different steps of coming into becoming truthful with yourself and finding hope and finding out what faith is about and to dispel the harms and abuses that have happened to you and how to turn that into a loving resolution. And so you can release the things that were in the past or the worries of the future and live in the now, which is reality. So my book is about coming into reality. We leave a fantasy behind that's playing out in between our ears, and we get to move into our heart, which is the love inside of us, which is real, and the reality is deep within. And as you follow the chapters of my book, you move more and more into the reality and love of who you truly were created as. So you do not have to stay a victim. It's a choice. I chose many years ago, I didn't want to be a victim any longer. I chose not to volunteer to be a victim anymore, and that just means growing up. So it was a matter for me to move into maturity, and I had no examples in my case. My mother was mentally ill, my father was an alcoholic, and my stepfather was even sicker than both of them. So I had no examples of what it looked like to grow up and how to have no models and no examples to lean back on or talk with about this. So through my searching for the truth and searching for answers, I actually have lived through what I've written about and come out on the other end, and it's a wonderful place to be, so it's worth the effort.
Wonderful. And, you were in another program that I have on WBAI, and you shared your experience, you're a survivor yourself. Would you mind sharing a little bit about that with people who may not understand where you're coming from? I know you just talked a little bit briefly about your background.
Right, yes. I come from a background of a dysfunctional family that had alcoholism, mental illness, sex addiction, and rageaholic history in the family genetics and what was not modeled and happened in our house. And so I never was raised in reality. I didn't even know what reality was. I just knew I was supposed to be hurt, because if my mother was beat up every night, then I was no better than my mother. And I ended up in a domestic violent marriage because that's what I was used to. And so I came from sexual abuse, incest, rape, 30-year marriage of battering, abusive marriage of rape. And I found out through trying to get out of the mess I was in, there were a lot of things about myself that I had to recognize and come awake about, and say, oh, really, I have this, I'm codependent. Oh, I really do have a problem. I was using prescription drugs from the doctors thinking that that was helping me, and discovered I got addicted to them, which is the same as alcoholism. So I had to turn to 12 steps for help in that regard. I've had to do a lot of healing of the sexual abuse that I went through. And I've had to heal all parts of my life, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, to become a whole person. And that's what my book's about, is to explain how all those parts of our lives affect us and how we can bring them into harmony and balance. And we can come into that higher consciousness of love, of unconditional love, that some people call it heaven on earth, some people call it Christ consciousness, but I have become fearless. And that's the fifth dimension. That's what people call heaven on earth. When you're fearless, there's no negative energy around to harm you or hurt you. Actually, there never was. We have been conditioned to think it's there, but with my therapeutic hypnosis I do with my clients, and we can even do it on Skype, when we do that hypnosis, we can literally remove the fantasy, remove the negative energy, remove the harms, and replace it with a loving solution. And I've learned to do that with myself, and I do it with my clients very successfully. I help somebody today, in fact, do the same thing. We can move and grow into a better place. And I have come through a multitude of difficulties, realizing I have free choice, and I can always choose love, or I can choose to stay in fear. And you can't have faith and fear at the same time. And when I chose faith each time to walk and move forward in my life instead of being a little squirrel on the squirrel cage, I could move off that little wheel and move into responding to my life situations rather than reacting to them.
You mentioned something about 5D, which is fascinating, because last week I had a guest, and she mentioned a little bit about the 5D, that we all are moving towards 5D, and she was trying to explain to us. She says, it's ongoing right now. So I find that fascinating, that you said that to be in 5D is to be fearless.
Well, exactly. What has happened is we've come to planet Earth, which is third dimensional, and in third dimension we have right and wrong, good and bad, criticism and judgment, ought tos and shoulds, all the things that people are controlling us with. And we've come here to release those and overcome them and receive them for what they are. They're just an illusion, and we don't have to play the game anymore. So as we release it, we move into God consciousness, which is the fourth dimension, and we gradually move up higher vibrationally with our energy, our spiritual energy. Some people call it Jacob's ladder. And when we become fearless, as I have done, that's the cover of my book, is an orange sunset, and that was my reward for becoming fearless. I discovered that orange is the color of Christ consciousness, and my last fear was to ride this huge Ferris wheel on the waterfront of Seattle. My friend wanted me to go up on their birthday, and I'd had a traumatic experience in 6th grade, and on an octopus, and it wasn't nearly as high, and I was no way I was going up in that Ferris wheel. And when I found out that I could change my fear to faith and be in the arms of my higher power and be safe, I went up and I faced my last fear. As I got up to the top of the Ferris wheel, everything turned orange. The sky was orange, reflected in the water below, the windows of the business buildings behind me, everything was orange, and that's the picture on the cover of my book, because we can bust through those old paradigms and move into that loving space that always has been in front of us, but we believed the fear instead of the love.
Yes, because like you said before, I mean, we've been conditioned through many means, through our families, generational, through just media, saying, no, you can't do that, you can't do this, if you're suffering, that's normal, which is very sad.
It's really not normal, but we've been taught it is, because what the truth is that in this universe, it's limitless.
Yes.
And so when I decided if God is limitless, I can be limitless because I'm His son. I'm a daughter of God. He said it called me a son of God too. And so when I take that position, I'm limitless. Then I can ascend out of the fear, which is third dimension, and ascend into the fifth dimension of love. And that's where I always wanted to be in the first place.
But it is, we sort of have to break away from that conditioning, like you said. Are you finding from your experience working with other people that people are starting to become aware that that's not really the norm? Suffering is not really the place where we want to be or should be.
Well, we've had many lifetimes to bring us to this point where we can finally release the last of our negative energy. And I've been told this is my last lifetime in third dimension because I have become fearless. And everybody can do it. It's a choice that if we want to hang on to our problems and stay miserable, I guess we can do that. I'd had enough, thank you. I've almost died 12 times. I'm sitting in this chair by the grace of God because every time I chose to live. And I have stories in my book about that, about people that chose to have a life where they were alive and living and enjoying it and healthy. When you move into fifth dimension, you don't have health problems. You don't have the difficulties we have in the third dimension. People work together. They're in unity, in harmony, and cooperation. The difficulties, we do have challenges to work through and learn, but they're not nearly as difficult as
That's wonderful. The way you're describing it, I'm thinking, why wouldn't we want to do that?
Well, that's the whole point of my book is why not get rid of what you don't want so you can have what you do want.
Exactly. And you mentioned that you're a hypnotist. Is that, and you use it with yourself, did you have someone hypnotize you before you became a hypnotist, and that's why you decided to do it? How did you get into that? Because I find that fascinating.
Well, thank you. It was an evolution. I started meditating because I knew that was my connection to a higher consciousness. And as I was meditating, over time I became a psychic, and I was attending a class, an Edgar Casey program, and a man volunteered to, he was having a class for people who wanted to learn past life regression. Mm-hmm. At the time, I didn't even know about past lives, really, but I signed up for the class, and he taught us how to hypnotize people and do past life regression. And I've taken his class twice. I went back and took the advanced program. I'm internationally board certified for regression therapy. And when I came home, I took more classes on hypnotherapy, and I'm also on the American Board of Hypnotherapy. And so I found it to be a very practical way to handle changing my energy. When you do it on a subconscious basis, which is what hypnotism is, it's a meditation basis. You're going inside your soul, and you actually are changing the root cause of the problem. It doesn't have to keep recreating over and over. So you get to move out of it and into a higher consciousness where you leave it behind, and you move forward in your life, and it just gets so much better because you don't have the resistance like you did. Mm-hmm. So you're actually embracing the future, embracing your life, and seeing the joy of it. And so hypnotism is, in my opinion, I use it with flower essences. There's a place locally in Washington State on the island where they make flower essences, and there's also Bach flower essences, and I use these to help move out the old energy. And that's the secret that most people that are channeling and giving to people looking for help, they keep saying, well, add love to your life and do all these wonderful things, but they don't tell people to remove what's blocking the good things from occurring. So with my hypnosis, I can help you and help others remove the blockages and obstacles to moving into grace, moving into higher consciousness or unconditional love. When you remove the blockages, then there is space left for the good things to happen and manifest.
Now, I'm going to backtrack.
So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
it's all dirty. You can't add anything new to it and get better. You have to dump out the old, and then you can put in the new, and then you have what you truly wanted. So it's removing what's in the way is the most important part so that the new love can come in and replace it.
I was going to ask you, for those people who may not know what past life regression is, basically the concept is that we have multiple lives. You know, our soul is comes onto this earth and incarnates, and you'd say it better than I do. Can you explain it to people?
Well, past lives is a term that says that our souls have lots of memories, and so we call them lives because we have appeared in different forms, in different lives, and those energies from those lives are part of what's playing out in our life today. So if you go back and look into your soul or your soul memories and can change the difficulties in those particular parts of an experience of your life, you change the energy is what you're changing. That energies that are hidden from you, because when we incarnate, we are not privy to our past lives or our past memories. And so when we go back into those memories, we can resolve them with loving solutions, and it cleans your soul. It's kind of like an inner soul cleaning, and so that you don't have that as the motivation in your life anymore, and you don't have to play it out.
Okay, thank you for clearing that out. I know that sometimes...
Well, one gal that showed up for a past life regression was very codependent, and so we put her into a life that was indicated because of what was going on today. Mm-hmm. And in the middle of it, she says, "Oh, is that what I'm doing? I don't have to do that anymore." So it puts you in touch with what's been running your life, and you didn't even know it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was just going to say, I said, we sort of fall into this automatic mode, and we fall into patterns that we keep repeating and we're not aware of, and we're just saying, "Oh, I don't know why my life is going this way. I keep, things just go this way," and it keeps repeating itself. And sometimes you need that help or that insight where you can say to yourself, "Oh, I see why I do that."
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Now, Mark, do you want to...
Actually, we have a question from the website.
Oh, we have a question from the website. So, Marilyn, if you don't mind, it's addressed to you if you can answer.
Yes, I have quite a few ways to reach me and contact me and get more information about me. And my website is, 2 words, angelicasgifts.com, ANGELICASGIFTS.com. And on my website, you'll find a multitude of articles and information about the many things I do to help people restore their lives back to being thriving. And I have a lot of books on Amazon.com. I have a blog at MarilynRedmondBooks.blogspot.com. I have a lot of YouTubes that have lectures, interviews, and spiritual information because I'm also a medium. And I also have a newsletter. My email is Marilyn@angelicasgifts.com. It's on my website. You can email me from there. Or you can even contact me at 253.
Well, we're not gonna. You can give that information later. We're not done with you. You're not going anywhere.
Yeah, no, we're not.
What we do have is a question for you from an actual listener.
Okay.
Hold on. The question is from Joanne. Hi, Marilyn. I have a history of both sexual and physical abuse from people very close to me. I'm in constant fear, afraid to truly live my life. It has affected my relationships with my family, my friends, and finding love. I know I have a lot of work to do. What's the best way to get started?
Well, that's a wonderful question because I was in that space myself. And I actually had a moment in time when my husband was trying to kill me, and God literally stepped in and told me, I'll give you the short version, but the whole story is on my website. The short version, I was told to say, "God forgive him, for he knows not what he does." And I said it twice, "God forgive him, for he knows not what he does." And then I added, "God bless him." And when I sent love to my ex-husband. At the time, we were still married. But when I sent love to him, it stopped the game. What I discovered is that the more I continued being a victim, I was playing the game, and he was the bully, and I was the victim, and it's a passive-aggressive game. And so as I stayed fearful, I stayed a victim, and I had to choose love. I had to choose God, and whatever came up, I had to send love to it, such as God forgive him, for he knows not what he does. I had to forgive him and realize that he was playing the part to teach me to send love to him. He actually incarnated to do that for me. And over time, as I forgave him and prayed for him and kept sending love to him, he never touched me again. He just recently died. I have compassion for that man. I've known him for 60 years, and he was a very wounded person. He actually literally had a hole in his soul, and he acted it out on me. And as I took the reins in my life and became responsible, and I have a choice, I can stay in fear, but I can move out of it and choose love as the solution. Love never fails. So as I chose to pick love, to respond in love, and pray for that man, my life improved tremendously. I started seeing that all the things in my life were lessons for me to send love to them. And that was my huge lesson in life, was to learn I didn't have to react in fear anymore. It's a choice. I can't have love and fear at the same time. I can have faith and love at one time, or I can have fear, and I chose to stay in faith and love. And when I do that, the universe actually protects me. I can't tell you how it does it, but the energy around me is protected from people hurting me when I send love to them. It's kind of like putting on an armor, like you're a knight in shining armor. You put on your armor when you send love to somebody, and you are the safest you can be, because nobody can hurt love. It's when they feel hurt, they hurt you back. But if you're not hurting them, they don't want to hurt you back. And it really solved my problem. And it's very well described in my book, Paradigm Busters, Reveal the Real You. Get yourself a copy, and you'll read about it in there and see how I came out of it.
Well, thank you, Marilyn, for answering that, Joanne, and thank you for posting your question. We appreciate it. I know that if you're going through something right now, you may feel like, there's nothing you can do, but there are things you can do, and you can certainly get in touch with Marilyn's website. And also, I always say be safe. If you are in danger, then contact either the police or a domestic violence hotline to help you if you are indeed in danger. Any questions? Any other questions?
No, nothing yet.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. And we're running sort of close to the end, only less than 7 minutes from the show. So I wanted to talk about Marilyn with you. You mentioned that you had this sort of moment where you said, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to suffer anymore. Do you recall that moment and how it shifted your life?
Well, the moment I made the change, I was in a car, and he was trying to kill me in a car accident. He was going to show me. He just was so irrational at the time. He didn't realize he would be part of it. Mm-hmm. And I'd gone to church all my life and only said prayers out of a hymnal, but all of a sudden out of my mouth came the words, God, please help me. I really don't want to die. And it was basically what some people call surrender. When you surrender to the love of the universe, it's going to be there to help you out of your dilemma when you ask for help. And so to ask for that inner help inside, that we need to look inside of ourselves for the strength that's there instead of keep looking outside of ourselves. One of the reasons I was in the domestic violence was I was so needy and insecure. I looked for other people to take care of me, and guess what? The inner essence of who we are takes care of us. That God within takes care of us. And I was looking in the wrong places for love. So it's really a point to know that my book will help you change your focus from what doesn't work to what does work. And today I'm not needy, and I'm not insecure, and I don't feel lonely, and I don't feel like I'm being a victim anymore. I actually feel like I've grown up and become a mature person, which is a wonderful feeling, to be whole and happy. And my life isn't a bowl of cherries, but it's definitely better than it used to be.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people whether you had a trauma or not, sometimes feel like, oh, you fall into the whole Hollywood or TV world where everything's perfect. And there is, not perfection all the time. But, you have
Nothing is perfect. That's an illusion. And if you're trying to be perfect, you're not real.
Right.
And that's what my book says. Just be yourself. Just be the true you. Let your hair down. You don't have to curl it every day. Just be the true you and be the wonderful you that you are. You don't have to play games.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I think that's one of the hardest. And you mentioned the word surrender. This is like the third time within the last week that I heard the term surrender on my program, which is so important because some people feel that it might be, giving up, but it's quite the opposite. It's a beautiful thing when you're able to surrender to your, whatever it is, your higher consciousness, your, whatever you define it as such. And
well, our humanness has taught us to try to be little gods with everybody around us supposed to be doing what we want them to do. Mm-hmm. And we have to learn to accept them the way they are and live our own lives and not worry about them. So we have to give up playing God to other people. And when we give that up, we surrender and say, okay, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Now I have to do what I have to do.
Yes, and it's a wonderful thing when you're able to get to that point. It's actually quite powerful. I've had moments of that in my own personal life, and it has shifted and changed the direction of my life in beautiful ways. And like you said, and I'm going to just echo it, Marilyn, life is not a bowl of cherries all the time, but it does get better. You have to do the work. You said the word taking responsibility for your life. You do have choices, even in horrible circumstances. It's not blaming the victim per se, but it is being able to understand why this is happening. And when you're able to do that, I think that's a very important part of thriving, when you're able to sort of look at what role you play in those circumstances.
Well, that's the whole point. If we let love be our guide, Jiminy Cricket in Pinocchio movie of Walt Disney years ago said, let your conscience be your guide. And if you really understand that's another word for God inside, your consciousness, and you're connected to that love of the universe, if that's your God, or however you define it, if you listen to your intuition is another way to put it, let that be your guide. And then you're playing the part that you're supposed to be doing, and it's not what the other people think you should be doing or you think you need to do to make them happy. You're taking care of yourself, and when you're responsible for yourself, you grow up. That's what's happened to me anyway.
And it's good to grow up. It's not a bad thing.
Oh, I really like not being needy today, and I like feeling secure and that I'm part of the universe today, and that I have people in my life that care about me. And that was not the case when the family I grew up with. They were also into their own trauma and drama that they couldn't care about themselves, let alone me. I had to learn that God cares about me, in my case, my higher power, and that's what counts. And I can't look to other people to save me today. That my peace and and I'm only saved by the power inside today. The energy of love saves me and gives me peace. And I don't look for peace and love from other people, but from inside today. And then people are my companions. I can go and have fun, but I don't need them.
Right. There's a difference, a huge difference. Absolutely. When you're needy, you need it. It's something that you can't do without. When you're able to find that in yourself, when you share with someone else or other people, even the more the merrier. It's like, yay, I'm celebrating with everyone, but you don't need it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right on.
I love that feeling. Again, you can give your phone number now because we're up to the end of your segment, so certainly you can give your
And we're actually, Marilyn, we're going to take all your contact information and put it on the show's YouTube, so everybody will have it.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so but go ahead, give your website again.
My website is angelicasgifts.com. You can find it on Google. If you forget, just dial my name on Google, but it's angelicasgifts.com. My books are on Amazon, and my blog is marilynredmondbooks.blogspot.com. And I have a lot of YouTube up. If you Google and YouTube, you'll find lectures, interviews, and spiritual information I channel. And I have a newsletter. And so if you email me at marilyn@angelicasgifts.com, I'd be glad to give you the newsletter link. And you can phone me at 253-845-4907. 253-845-4907.
Wonderful. Marilyn, again, thank you so much. Stay on the air. I just want to say to everyone, we're going to be very excited. We're going to have the second half of Thrive with Jay Grace. We pre-recorded this section. It is with our new host, which is going to be premiering next Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is Instant Reboot with Oriya Mirza. So stay tuned for that. I'm very excited. Welcome everyone, this is Jay Grace and welcome to Thrive with Jay Grace. This is the second half of the program. I'm very excited because the next guest on the show is someone that hopefully you'll be getting to know throughout the months. This is very exciting for me. We are going to welcome a new show into the Thrive Talk Network family, and we are introducing a show that is actually very interesting for me, so I'm going to learn a lot this half hour. And I'm so glad that I have with us today Master Transformational Life Coach specializing in decoding core beliefs, Oriya Mirza. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you.
How are you?
I'm great. My last name is a little hard to pronounce. It's actually kind of like a meerkat, so it's pronounced Mirza.
Oh, Mirza. I would have never, ever gotten it.
It's my husband's last name, and he's Indian, so I always have to break it down for people.
Well, glad that you did. Now, welcome to not only this show, but welcome to Thrive Talk Network family. So I'm very excited to have you.
I'm so excited to be here. This is such a great opportunity. I've been waiting for an opportunity where I can just really let loose and really share what I know. And this has been the best experience. And you guys have been so amazing to work with just to get started. So I just want to really thank you.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
Been great so far. Yeah.
We haven't even begun yet.
I know. It's great.
Now, okay, so the program that we are going to be introducing everyone to is going to be Thursdays, right? And it's going to be at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And it's going to be a 2-hour program. So we're very excited because this is you're going to be the first one doing a 2-hour program on our network. So that's huge.
Yeah, I mean, how that came to be for me was as I was trying to understand the format of how I wanted to share what I know, I realized that the most interactive and exciting way was to actually hold one of my sessions live. And my sessions are all 2 hours long, and I've been doing them for so many years. So it was just like a natural progression for me to just do it on the air. And then everybody gets to see exactly what I'm doing, how I do it, the way I do it, and you can learn from it and ask questions and see. You can find yourself in the clients or the guests that call in. You'll hear your stories, your questions. It's very similar things that you're probably dealing with. And then eventually I'm going to be taking callers. So I'm really excited about that.
Wonderful. And now, so the name of the program is called Instant Reboot. And
yes.
And so explain to people what you mean by that and what you do.
Well, this is, it's very complex situation that I am in right now because it's kind of like more complicated than therapy, but yet it's easier than traditional therapy because it's faster, but it requires much more understanding of what's happening. So there's a lot of prep talk where I explain to the guest or the caller or the client, I explain exactly what it is that I'm going to be doing, and then exactly how it takes place and what decoding actually means. So what that actually means is we all have core beliefs, and core beliefs just arrive in our human. So like sometimes it's 4 or 5 years old, and there's decisions that we make, observation, and before.
Okay,
and they have painful outcomes.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Araya. It's simply that I hear like a little hissing and static from your side, and I want people to be able to hear you when you're sharing all that good stuff.
Oh, okay. How is it now?
Much better.
Back away from the mic a little bit.
Maybe back away a little bit from the mic.
Oh, okay. How's this? Is this better?
Much better. Okay, because you were going to get into the good stuff, and I don't want anybody to.
Well, I don't even know where to begin. Honestly, this is it's a unique system that I have come up with over trial and error since 2003, when I began my own intensive training of self-development to learn how to get rid of my own pain, my own addictions, my own suffering and trauma. And my story is very intense. It's very traumatic. And I didn't think I was going to make it. After 30 years old, I was completely fried. So I had 5 children. By the time I was 35, I had 5 children. And then I was on to my 4th husband by the time I was 30. And I had an incredibly tense, difficult life up until then. And so I was at my breaking point, and I'm talking mentally, emotionally, physically, and through sheer determination to survive, I started reaching out to see what I can find about myself. Like, how come I keep doing the same thing over and over? Why do I keep attracting the same type of relationships? Or why am I living in constant pain and constant suffering and things like that? So I started to go deep, deep, deep into the psyche. And it was 7 years of intensive training with seminars and workshops in various, I don't want to give the name of all these institutions and places that I went to, educational places, but I just absorbed and learned. And I tried it out on myself. Of course, I'm the guinea pig. I went first, and I saw such amazing results that I got so excited because my entire life was changing, that friends and family and people around me were asking me what I was doing. Like, how come you look different? And why is your family so great right now? And why are you having this new business and you launched it? And how are you coming out of like seemingly hell that I was in? And so little by little, I started explaining to them what I was doing. And it was all reprogramming. So I was actually literally diving deep into my psyche and going to my core belief systems, which I didn't even know were there. And I started to reevaluate the way I saw life and the way I saw myself. And it was about 2009, I met my current husband now, and we've been together 7 years today. Yay. And yeah, it was a great anniversary for us today.
God,
and
happy anniversary.
Oh,
today. That's so funny. My in-laws is their anniversary today too.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. So good. So I met, and he's a psychic medium. My husband's a psychic medium, trance channel, and his name is Riz Mirza. And I had never been around anything regarding psychic work or spirituality. Like, I didn't come from that world, so I didn't really understand it. All I knew is that he was very, very loving. And even though I was very, quote unquote, transformed, I was still very much in my head. And so when I met him, he has kind of assessed me, and he said, you're an amazing woman. You're so motivational and inspirational, but your body is like failing. Your skin looks like you have some toxicities, and what are you eating? And like, he just started going in, and I was like, I didn't realize. And I went to a bunch of practitioners, and I had a lot of tests run, and they looked at me and wondered how I was still standing. They said, do you know that you're on the brink of a complete and total like shutdown? Like my organs were shutting down because of 13 years of alcoholism. I had toxicity in my blood from horrible eating and living off of a diet of coffee and Red Bull, barely eating. I used to do 3 times a week resistance training because I wanted to be always in shape after 5 children. So I pushed my body extremely hard. And then I had my startup company that I started, and that's 16-hour days and 5 kids. I mean, I just literally didn't even know I had a body from my neck down. There was nothing from my neck down that I was aware of. It was a miracle that I had made it to 40. I don't know how I did it. It was just good genes. And so when he asked me, he said, can we change your diet? Can we start taking supplements? Can you start taking care of your body? Can we stop being on the laptop for 16 hours? Is there a way that we can pull back? Right, and when I started doing that, I found out my body was so hungry for rest that I slowly started to slow down, which ended up in a 3-year bed rest. I actually lost all ability to move. So when I stopped living off of the 1% adrenaline that I had left in my adrenal glands, I actually was just a bag of bones. Literally, my glandular system was shot, my adrenal system was shot. My organs were not functioning properly. They were totally sluggish. My colon was there was parts of my colon that had already atrophied. I was living off of laxatives for 15 years, from trauma, from stress, from just my stomach in knots for 20 years. My body was like turning in on itself, like it was just collapsing. And my bloodstream was just, sluggish, everything. And so we went on this very intensive healing journey. And during this time, I discovered I had a body. And then I also discovered I can heal it. And I also discovered in the middle of all that there's this thing called love. I was so shocked. I thought love was gone. Like, I think at 10 years old is when I gave up on love. I said, well, that was fun. That was good. It was a nice little 10-year run. And then here I was like at 40 something, and I'm sitting here going, love is real? Like, love exists? This is a real thing? I couldn't even believe it. It was like I was coming back to life. It was like a Frankenstein situation. I was literally recharging, revamping. It was literally like Frankenstein. Like, my arms would go first and my legs, and like, it was just bits and pieces of me would start rejuvenating. Once I completely came back to homeostasis and complete balance, I stopped and I looked back and I said, wait, did I just heal my entire system by myself with my husband's help and some healers and people who brought these great modalities to me and amazing foods and supplements? And I said, did I actually do that? So I tested the waters. For a couple years, I tested it with different dietary behavior, like raw food, vegan. Then I went completely into processed food, and then back to vegetarian and back to meat. And I tried everything. And then I got gluten intolerant. And then it went all the way to the point I was at the advanced stages. So where I was in the ER every 5 weeks because I was eating bread and processed food and white, just everything that I wasn't supposed to be eating. And on my last hospital visit, it was the most serious. They did a spinal tap and just couldn't figure out what was wrong. And the head pain is like at a level 15 and the highest, most powerful painkillers doesn't work. And I sat there in the hospital room and I said, what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm now believing in gluten. I'm now saying that I'm suffering through food. I am now ignoring the fact I totally healed my body. I'm going back into a pattern. What is happening? So I stopped every single thing I was doing internally, mentally, and emotionally. And I went into a deep state where I tried to understand, what is it that I'm trying to say to myself? Am I trying to communicate to myself? Is there somebody in here trying to say something? Because I really need to hear now. It's time for me to really listen, because I think I want to live a pain-free life like 100% of the time. So then that's when I really, really changed my life. That's when everything I learned went into practice, and everything I understood about the belief systems and decoding and reprogramming, I just took the bull by the horns, and I'm a Taurus. I took the bull by the horns and I literally ran with it. And I just said, there's no more excuses. There's no more gap. There's no more delays. There's no more reasons why I can't. There's no more I can't have something. There's no more patterns from my parents and the generations before them. There's no more family generational behavior like addictions or, anything that I bought into. None of the stories. It was like I cleaned my house. I cleaned every speck of my being. And is there such thing as being a totally clean human being? I have no idea. All I know is while I was cleaning, decoding, and reprogramming myself, my life started to organize itself. It was like magic. It was like my house started to calm down. Everything started to get more peaceful. I started to relax. People were talking to me different. My face calmed down. My body calmed down. Like everything relaxed. It was almost like I was starting to commune with nature. It was like without even trying. I became like a tree or a flower. It was that much peace. And I said, wait a minute. Did I just find the Mecca? Is this peace? I didn't even know this existed. Oh my God. I just landed on it. I couldn't believe it. And when I discovered it, it was like I found gold. And I said, I got to share this with everybody. So I went back into life coaching, which I took a break for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. And I started telling people, I have to share this with you. You guys have to see this. And they said, well, you don't even have to say anything. We could see it on you. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what? They said, this is happening. This is real. It's emanating from you. You don't just tell me how you did it. That's all we need to know. You don't have to convince me. And I said, wow. So then I started sharing with people. And before long, it just got to the point where I realized that I just needed a larger forum like the radio on air. So I can really, really show how the body and how the mind, it's like how we're organized before we're conscious of our bodies and after we're conscious. We're always conscious. Our beings are always conscious, but are we aware of our consciousness? Are we aware that we have a body? Are we aware we have a mind? Are we aware how it works? Many of us just have no idea. Yeah. And it's kind of, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I agree with you. I think most of us are in auto mode. We're just automatic mode and just go through things, but we're either too much in our heads or not grounded enough, or we're just not balanced. And if you're dealing with people who have been traumatized, that's even harder, because when you're traumatized, you sort of get fragmented anyway. So you're getting into little pieces of energetic pieces just thrown everywhere. So it's important, that you talk about this on your show, because I share this on this program as well. But I think that I find it really exciting that there are a lot of people such as yourself that are sharing this gift with others and empowering them so that they can have a thriving life themselves, that it is possible no matter what you're going through. Because going through all the stuff that you've gone through, sometimes people will say, well, you can get over this and, you can get your life together. But it's not until, like you said a few minutes ago, when you were in the emergency room and you're like, I don't want this. What am I doing?
Right.
When that moment, it's this very poignant moment when you say to yourself, I don't want this anymore. And I think you mentioned it, and I've read this on your bio, but there's a point of like surrender. You used the word surrender.
Yes. Oh, yes.
and I agree with you. It's a moment where you're like, it's not giving up. It's surrendering, which is totally different.
It's like a cousin. It's a cousin of giving up. People get confused with surrender and giving up. They get very nervous around this area, because they say, oh God, if I let go, I'm barely holding it together right now. I'm holding my family together, or I'm holding my sanity together. If I let go, I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to lose everything. So surrender is not that. Surrender is actually allowing yourself to say, wait, I don't have to do it this way. I could surrender to the idea that I can change myself. I can have the life I want. Surrender can be where you just release your trauma. It's not yours anymore, or you don't have to carry it as a badge of honor anymore. Like my story, I understand both of us have rape stories, and my stories I kept on me like a badge for many years, and it was a part of how I created my identity. So I was very rough around the edges, and I didn't trust anyone, and I had an attitude, didn't talk to me, and it was just very difficult to have a conversation with me or have a relationship with me because I was so edgy and I was just so irritated all the time because nobody knew what I had gone through. And a lot of people with PTSD go through this. And who doesn't have PTSD? I don't think it's just for trauma, like heavy trauma. Yeah, I think that everybody's going through PTSD. Yes. I mean,
it's hard not to.
Right? Like when depression first came out, people thought, oh my gosh, you have depression. Oh, go sit in a room and we have to take care of you. Right. Now we're finding out everybody has low-grade depression. And it's just because not everybody's doing what they want to be doing, and not everybody's living it the way they want to live it. And they're not experiencing life the way they could. And it all just comes down to one thing. It's information, as you know. And that's why you have your show. That's why I'm putting my show out, because it's just information. And if you have information and you have more information than you currently have, you'll have a better chance of moving forward. And that's what it's all about. So when people are suicidal or people are at the end of their rope and they're hitting a wall, I was suicidal for so many, like 15 years, I was suicidal. So I understand, but it's actually, you're just kind of running in a circle. You're just saying, I need more information. I need more information. And what happens is you spook yourself and you get scared and you get nervous because you're like, no one can help me. No one knows what I'm going through. I don't know how to reach out. I'm totally terrified to tell anybody how I feel. And so that terror goes into more terror, and it's just a vicious cycle. So when is enough? When do you say, I'm done? So it's really understanding what your thresholds are. Now, I had certain thresholds set up for myself. I had made some promises to myself as a human being that if I go completely numb to the point where I'm hurting myself, to degrees where I probably will lose my identity or sense of self, that I will stop. So my threshold was way further out than most people. And I had watched myself go through a lot of violence, and I had a lot of violence on my body from other people. And I actually witnessed it, and I knew it was happening, but I was completely numb. It was when I psychologically started to go numb that I started to see danger up ahead, because people were looking at me like, okay, you may have to go somewhere, like go maybe to an institution, or maybe you're going to have to like isolate because you can't be around people. So I started turning into a monster because I no longer was connected to my feelings. I wasn't connected to my mind. I wasn't connected to common sense or logic. And these people, when they go through this, and like myself, get ostracized by society, which just makes it worse. Yeah. So you actually start to think there's something really wrong with you, when it all just came down to you were victimized and you went through pain and suffering. But it was so compounded, and there was no help for so many years. So you start lashing out. Yeah. And then before long, you're hurting yourself, and then you're hurting other people. And then nobody knows what to do with you. And then your family cuts you off. And then you don't have the same friends anymore. And then you kind of slowly deteriorate on your friendships, and the friends you do get are definitely not good for you. Right. And before you know it, you're at the bottom rung of the ladder. And then you keep going, and then you start losing things. You start losing your house, you start losing your kids, you start losing your cars. People start stealing things from you, and you actually just don't care. And when you get to that point, and not care like a choice, like, I really just don't care. No, It's more like I don't care because I don't know how anymore. Like it broke. That little system broke. It's not functioning anymore. So when you get to that place, it's beyond terror. You're now standing in a white zone. It's like a white room where you're standing in your own death and your own creation. And it's like you stand there and you look around and you say, oh, it's really up to me. No one's in here with me. I literally pushed everybody out of my life. I successfully did it. I really did. So now what do I do? Right. And some people never come back from that. They take it all the way to the grave. And some people say, wait. This is not why I came here. I did not want to start my life like this. This is how I wasn't like this growing up. I wasn't like this in school. What happened? And those people that have like 0.001% curiosity will go discover some additional information to help pull them out. And that's what I offer. And that's what everybody's offering. Like you're offering, so many life coaches are offering. And it's so amazing what's happening on our planet right now, that there's so many people reaching back into communities and saying, hey, I did it. Let me show you how I did it.
Exactly. And it's so important because, we all have the tools. That my philosophy is we're born with these divine tools. When we are in stuck or in trouble, or our bodies are falling apart, like you said, you healed yourself. You had the power to heal yourself. And, I know a lot of people say, I don't know about that. I have real serious chronic illness and I don't think I can do that. Those are belief systems, like you said.
Totally. Oh, I could track back every type of cancer. I could track back immune deficiencies. I can track back inflammation, MS, Parkinson's. I have already begun this process in working with clients. And what I see is deep-seated beliefs to the point, like a level of rigidity that it's like no human can change for that soul, because that soul, that journey that they chose was the only way they were going to learn what they came here to learn was through this type of debilitating illness. Right. And trying to get them to see something other than that, it's like wrangling and wrestling like if they're holding on to something so tight and you're trying to wrestle and wrangle this idea out of their system that they don't have to continue engaging with this disease. In order for them to believe you, you have to convince them that they're okay to have the choice to self-heal. It's much deeper and harder to get through to people with illnesses. I thought they were going to be the first one standing in line with their hands up saying, oh, please, please, anybody heal me. Right. Oh, no. It turns out it's the opposite. Yeah. They say, oh, no. This is where I'm at. No one knows what it's like. Don't bother me. You want to try to help me? That's really cute. Go ahead and try. And I'm going to tell you all the reasons why it's not going to work. Right. And so my sessions with them are very fun and very interesting because I go hardcore. I'm like Babe Ruth in there, like with the big bat. And I'm just like, I have to be harder with them than I do with the average person. And you would think it's the other way around. Yeah. No, and they appreciate it. They want me to because no one else. Because they're scared. Everyone's scared of people with debilitating illnesses and fatal illnesses. They're terrified to talk to them. They treat them with, they coddle them and treat them with kid gloves. And what makes that worse is it feeds it. Right. It feeds the fear factor. Yeah. So that's why this decoding process is so, so important, because you actually just sit down and you communicate with another person and you say, listen, is this what you want in your life? And they say 9 times out of 10, they say, no, this is not what I want to be doing or what I want to be feeling. Okay, great. So we take one section at a time and we start working on the beliefs of that area and we just track it back. We go all the way back to where they first learned it, where it first came into their being. And then many people will say, well, I've already worked on this in therapy and this is already handled. And I say, okay, I don't fight them because that's the natural defense mechanism. I get it. So I keep talking and talking. And all of a sudden, of course, a little slip where they say something that they still believe in that thing, which they thought was totally covered. And it was handled. Right. And I bring it to their attention. And I said, did you catch that? You just said this. And you just told me that that was cleared. And they're shocked. And the reason they're shocked is because they thought it was cleared. And this is the beauty of this work. And I learned it from others doing it for me. Right. I learned it from my husband helping me with this and my own teachers and mentors who didn't let me get away with anything until I finally started to understand how the defense mechanisms work in the system and the mind. And I said, oh, okay, I don't have to fight the defense mechanisms. I'm going to go around them. I'm going to work with them. So that's where I developed my unique style. That's how I do my sessions.
That's wonderful. Can you believe it? It's all, we almost have to wrap it up.
Serious?
I know. Seriously.
That went so fast.
Okay. It went so fast, but the wonderful thing, people who are listening, if you want to get to know more of Araya and her beautiful, wonderful program, Instant Reboot, tune in next Thursday.
Yes, I launch next Thursday at 7 p.m. on the 15th, December 15th. I'm so excited. I'm interviewing guests right now. If there's any guests out there that would like to come on board for a free 2-hour session with me and just tackle away, let's do it. It's going to be really, really fun. I promise you. It's not going to be as scary as you think. And it's like going to the dentist, but I have a lot of tricks and fun things going on to distract you so you really don't know how you're getting through these painful conversations. So it's really great. And also, can I mention about our wonderful Diane Garris, who's a part of your network also?
Yes.
Diane Garris is a wonderful speaker and alchemist and psychic, and she's an award-winning author and best-selling author for Manifesting Money. She's teamed up and partnered with me to offer an online seminar course starting the first week in January 2017, and we are going to be breaking down via online video and documents and workbooks and worksheets and homework assignments and meditations. And you can take this, I think it's a 23-week course or 26 weeks, and you have a monthly membership. And you can take your time and go through each thing one at a time at your own pace and watch videos. And we're putting that together right now. And we are going to be covering all these topics.
Oh, how fabulous.
It's the master series. And I'm so excited.
Oh, how wonderful. I can't wait. I may have to take it myself. How fabulous. And again, for anyone that wants to get in touch with Araya, you can go to, do you have a Facebook page or anything that you want to let people know how to contact you?
Yes, you can go to, I have several Facebook pages. I have my Araya Mirza personal page, but I also have the Instant Reboot radio talk show with Araya fan page. You can go there, and I'm updating it. I just started it. And also my website, arayalifecoaching.com. Everything that we're talking about here today. I try to put as much information as possible, but I always am adding. So feel free to go and check it out.
Thank you so much, Araya, and welcome to the family. And thank you all for listening. May we all thrive in loving ways. This is Jay Grace saying good night. Take care.